Gabriel. Well, I guess we can go with some biological facts. I was born in Jerusalem, Israel, and I grew up there. I lived there till I was 17, and then I moved to America. We moved to North Carolina so my mother could finish her PhD, and that's where I went to college. And it was when I was in college at the age of 19 that I became interested in India. Desha, exhale, hands down. Samasthiti. One more, inhale, like. In Israel, you grow up with an idea of India because a lot of people who finish the army go to India after the army. A lot of my older cousins went to India, and I grew up feeling as if India had a negative connotation, or at least maybe not something that they had that maybe we did not have from a philosophical or spiritual point of view in Israel. And I felt, and that was the box that I put India in. When I was 19, I read a book by an author called Tom Robbins, and that made me question the ideas that I had. And
what type of question?
Just the whole of what I thought I knew that India's spiritual, philosophical ideas were. The Ashtanga yoga practice was developed by a man named MANASUNA a long time ago. No one knows exactly what he wrote down, except for Krishnamacharya, who is no longer alive, and Pattabhi Jois, who's no longer alive. I've had the pleasure of practicing and studying a little bit with David Williams, and Williams says that when he was in the Shala in India, the list of all the poses was hanging on the wall. And so the names of all the poses were there and the order was there. And what he needed from Pattabhi Jois was, well, how do I get to the poses? What's the vinyasa? What's the breath? So Ashtanga really doesn't have any set structure from that avenue. Patanjali describing Ashtanga simply talks about yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. And that's what he talks about, not Ashtanga. The Ashtanga physical practice that we do on a regular day, for those of us who choose that practice, that one has evolved. And it fits and tailors to the needs of each individual practitioner. Rampara, which means trusting in the teacher.
Authority, for example,
or trusting in the teacher. Because the authority should be always a teacher. Especially if we're going to say that the authority is Patanjali, then we leave asanas completely now. Since Patanjali is not talking about asanas. Patanjali is talking yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. That's the authority. Yoga is the cessations of the turnings of the mind. If we want to go a step further, we're going to look at tapahas vadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani kriya yoga. Yoga in action is faith, enthusiasm, and study of what other people had to say, not in the exact order of how they were mentioned. So even Patanjali, to use his authority, is giving you two different ways of looking at the practice of yoga. Stop the turnings of your emotional mind, or have faith, enthusiasm, and self-study. Those will be your authority for practice. And notice they have nothing to do with asanas, nothing to do with strength. So the asanas themselves is like, well, now I'm going to devote myself to the faith of the teacher. Just focus on breathing down to your feet. You'll activate the bandhas on their own. Pattabhi Jois, the original teacher of Ashtanga Yoga, even he across the time changed some things. We should follow their teaching, and if you were a one-on-one practicing with Pattabhi Jois, then yes, of course he would modify certain things depending on you. But the modifications weren't so dramatic that I'm not going to do these poses and you're going to do these poses. The series of the poses were set by Vamana Rishi 2,500 years ago, and more or less there's intelligence in those sequence of poses. And when you practice it regularly, you begin to find your own understanding of that intelligence. Not because he told you, not because she told you, just because the practice is showing you the intelligence. And that's what it's like, well, the practice itself doesn't need to be changed a lot. The mind will be distracted because it's, I'm going to use a very simple word, it's boring. It's the same exact thing every day. And so it's boring. The nice thing about Ashtanga is that it evolves, so once you feel that you have mastered to stay with the breath until your body has developed the capacity to stay open in the poses, then you can move on to the next series and add more poses that will then test your ability to stay with your breath and stay calm and not be distracted by your mind. Again, technically within the Ashtanga practice itself, if you were to complete all of the series, then now you get to start over, and then you start in this manner. And just to give you an idea about, eventually you can have your own freedom.
Yeah.
And then you can appreciate how freedom will arrive. So if you finish all of the series, then at that point, okay, you're done. And what you do now is that now you're going to start practicing like this. You're going to start practicing, and every pose you're going to hold for 50 breaths. And once you do that pose for 50 breaths, you're going to drop it. And you're going to do this. You know, until you finish the whole series again. When you do all of that, then now you really have an understanding of all the poses in your body. And now you can trust your body to show you which poses I need to do today.
Okay.
See what I mean? There's very few people who have finished the whole series. Very few people that I know that after they finished, they went through the practice of, oh yeah, today I do Surya Namaskar A 50 times, Surya Namaskar B 50 times. I'm going to practice Padangustasana 50 breath, Padahastasana 50 breaths. See, so that might take you today. And then tomorrow, you might warm up, sun salutation A 3 times, sun salutation B 3 times, and you won't do Padangustasana, Padahastasana, you do Trikonasana 50 breaths.
Yes.
And Parivrita Trikonasana 50 breaths. See how that order? And that might take a few years. And I only know one person who's done that, and his name is David Williams.
Yeah.
You know? And so see how like you will develop a different intelligence, no longer my mind intelligence that's telling me, ooh, today I want to do something different. But rather, the practice has shown me how to be aware of my energy. And the practice is now telling me which poses to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. Okay.
You know, Renata, I really want to thank you for letting me be here and share my point of Ashtanga. Ashtanga for me started with this understanding of connecting to the breath, and the connection to the breath will then open up our understanding of who we really are. And that idea of Ashtanga has never changed, and my teachers, David Swenson, Tim Miller, Anthony Carlisi, David Williams, even a lady named Lisa Shrimp, continue to exemplify those points again and again. And when you practice to focus on the breath, something happens.